This is the Drew Experience episode 8. We are pumping out episodes because of lockdowns and trying to keep busy during quarantine. So this is the show that's 80% combat sports and 20% everything else and anything else with pop culture, you name it. And today, guys, I'm going to be honest. I'm heading back to the Kyokushin family. It's the art that I take up. You know, I'm a Kyokushin practitioner, being a second Kyu. Eventually will be a Shodan. And the Kyokushin family has been so big good to me with and when I had my last show. And I think after watching Cobra Kai season 3 and then going on a binge of martial arts flicks, be it Blade, Spawn, or any, you name it, we'll discuss it today. I decided to bring back some not former, but some one former guest who's coming on this week. But this has been one guest I want to bring on that was supposed to come on, and now we finally have it happen. He's the ageless wonder, a Dutch legend in the Dutch Kyokushin karate for IFK. He is the ageless wonder, Sensei Wesley Jansen. Welcome, Sensei.
Hey, Os. Well,
Us.
thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure's all mine. But thank you, because we were supposed to do this back in March, April, when my other show was really taking off, but burnouts happen, and now it's time to rebrand and go again. So yeah, I know you're on. Shout out to Scott from Marshall Way. You were on his show, and
Yeah,
great interview.
definitely.
I listened to I didn't listen to all of it, but I listened to parts of it, and I really liked the flow you guys had. So you come from a hotbed. You are from a hotbed of martial arts. The Netherlands is known for having some of the greatest kickboxers of all time. It's like you go to Canada, you think of hockey players. So before we'll get into that, but tell me, Sensei, what got you into martial arts? Like, what was your introductory to it?
I think, well, to be fair, it was my uncle. I was going to be doing something really different. My mom didn't really like me doing any martial arts and stuff like that. And obviously, later on, she started off doing karate as well, and she's now a third then. So, we influenced her. But I was going to do speed ice skating. And then at the time, my uncle was a good friend of my teacher back then, and he said, no, Wes, once you got your swimming degree, I'm gonna show you something which is really cool. And I always like to watch the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I always like to watch Bruce Lee and stuff like that. So yeah, that kind of those two shows. So the Ninja Turtles, Bruce Lee, and my uncle, they really got me into the martial arts business. And well, my first karate lesson was Kyokushin, but I was walking in my Bruce Lee suit there with the stuff like that. So yeah, it's a good memory.
Everyone walks into their first Kyokushin lesson either with the gi the school gives them that doesn't fit them, or they're gonna show up with a tracksuit. In your case, the tracksuit of Bruce Lee. So what was that like? Did people kind of go when they're like, what's going on here? Does he know where he is, or?
Well, it was quite funny because my uncle already told me what to do when I came in. I was like a 4-year-old little boy, came in there, walked up to the sensei, and I was like, "Us," and walked up to the senpai, and I was like, "Us," and then they were looking at each other and thinking, "How the hell does he know this?" You know what I mean? So that was really cool, and I was sold by the first session. To be fair, I've never left it. I've obviously done other stuff, but Kyokushin's my first love.
There's a lot of Kyokushin practitioners. They'll go try other martial arts, I've noticed, but then they come back and it's like, oh, it's like, I love it. I've seen what I've seen is a lot of Taekwondo practitioners. They'll kind of do both, because Taekwondo, I'm not taking anything away from a Taekwondo practitioner, but to get the belt, it's not as intense as, say, Kyokushin would be. And then they come back to Kyokushin, it's like, oh, this is like real fighting. And that happened to me because I started in Taekwondo before Kyokushin. And then I tried a Kyokushin dojo. And then when my membership at the Taekwondo place was running out, I don't want to quit right away. I like to just honor my contracts and then get out. I said, okay, this is my next art. I think I found the art I wanted. And either if it's another style of karate, they come right to Kyokushin and they stay there. And why do you think that is? What is it that appeal? Do you think it's because of the intensity, or do you think it's because of all the big names that have also done this art, like Dolph Lundgren, George St. Pierre, Michael Jai White, amongst others?
I think we nearly not as famous as we should be, to be fair, because a lot of people wouldn't even know that Dolph Lundgren has always been doing karate, or Michael J. White, or a George St. Pierre, because they know the people, but they're not like the biggest names in those scenes. The reason I think people will kind of fall in love with the whole style, or either go away and get back to it, is because it's so pure, it's so raw, it's so pure. It's when you are at a good dojo, and don't get me wrong, not every dojo is a good one, but when you are at that good dojo, you will form a base, and you will form something that is so intense that it keeps dragging you back in, you know what I mean? And I've had a lot of sessions where I was like, why am I doing this? You know what I mean? And like going out clubbing on a Friday night, being at the dojo at 9 o'clock in the morning again, and then at 3 p.m. still training, and you think, why is this fun again? Why am I doing this? But it's something that keeps bringing you back into the dojo. So I think it's the pureness, the rawness, the honesty in the sport, like the sport itself. There's a lot of dishonesty in the politics and stuff around like that, but the sport really is something honest. It's really back to the nature, to be fair.
I really think we have one of the best communities, regardless of the organization you're in. If we, as you said, I don't want to make this about politics, because that's going to just soil the art.
Don't need to do that.
But like the community is just, as a whole, it's beautiful. When you're at tournaments, you see other schools there. Like, for example, I mean, you're part of IFK. And I fought one of IFK's guys at one of the tournaments in the Big Shin tournament for Canada, when Fogarazzi from Contact Kicks brought Pavel, a guy named Andrew, who I fought. Andrew was a super heavyweight, and I was like a welterweight. I was a 170, just like bad weight. But it was a good experience, and it's just there's no bad blood. It's not like, hey, it's like, we're not here to talk trash. Like, we're weekend warriors. We have jobs the next day, and it's just pure. Like, I mean, I can't speak for other arts. I mean, maybe they kind of have that, but I just feel in Kyokushin, it's kind of like, it's not spoken about enough of how big the community is and how welcoming it is,
and how amazing it is indeed. Because if you walk in abroad, or go to anywhere you'd like to go, and you wear something with the kanji on it, or maybe you have the tattoo with the kanji on it, and someone sees it, there's an instant connection. People will come up to you, say, oh, so Kyokushin, where are you from, what do you do? And it's so welcoming. And the same is on like all of the level of tournaments. I'm a big MMA fan. I love it. I love MMA. I love kickboxing. I love to watch it. But the harasses they give to each other, the verbal vandalism they give to each other, we don't know that in Kyokushin. It's like, okay, we're gonna have a bloody hard fight. We're gonna beat the living crap out of each other. But as soon as the bell rings, it doesn't matter who won, but we're gonna drink a beer, a Coke, coffee afterwards, and that's, I think that's amazing.
Most likely, but there are a few where the rivalries are. I'm not gonna compare it. I don't want to compare it in MMA, because it's two different things. But there are some rivalries. There are some rivalries where, like, they refuse. Like, I mean, like, one day, like, I'll go into it, but like, there was one thing, like, when my coach like, I'm sure you've heard of him, like Mohammed Chik from Canada. He's like one of my senseis, one of Canada's. I think, like, I mean, he's an amazing fighter. I think he represents what Canada's, but there are some fighters that that do kind of like, not some, there's like a few, there's like maybe a very small number that kind of hold him in like regard, because like they feel like he took something from them. And it's like, guys, it's like, he doesn't care. Like, you're not going to gain anything from him. Like, you step on the tatami, get the respect, and you're going to learn something from him. And like, he's definitely one that like represents what Kyokushin is, because he's not about pumping his ego. He's not about holding grudges against past opponents. Like, if you want to know a story, like, and this was said on my last show, I'm sure you've heard of Vincent Michaud as well. He's another one of Canada, or Quebec, Canada's I like to perfect. So Canada and Quebec. So I like to call, in Quebec, there's what's called the Horsemen, or the Three Kings. The Three Kings of Quebec Kyokushin are Mohammed Chik, Vincent Michaud, and Mick Cordero. Those are the three those are the three. There might be some more that I'm unaware of, but I mean, right now, this generation, for my generation, it's those three. They're the three kings. And not many people know this, but Vincent went to train with Muhammad, because Vincent went to go train for a tournament in China. And this just says like what Muhammad is like. You know, he's going to welcome his opponents to come in, because Vincent wanted to learn something, because they had past fights with each other. And you know what? It just goes to show the camaraderie that we speak of, because Vincent was able to learn something, take that to China, and then win second place. I believe it's second place. So Vincent, if you listen and watch this, please don't get mad, but he represented Canada beautifully and came second. And, you know, he's definitely like the definition of like what perseverance is in Kyokushin, because Vincent keeps coming back. He keeps improving. And he's one of my favorite. Like, I love my coach, but I love Vincent too, because Vincent has played a significant role in my life. And it's just the impacts people have in Kyokushin that you meet. That's what I love about the art.
And that's what I think it's all about. What you say, either if you fought each other or not, it's all about you can teach someone to someone else, and there are no secrets anymore, to be fair, because like all of the kicks, all of the punches, they have been done. So please, you know, be open for each other, because that's the way we're gonna make Kyokushin even bigger than it already is.
I really definitely agree. It's like Vincent, for example, like, you know, Mo helped Vincent prepare for his tournament in China, and Vincent dominated because of that. Vincent helped me with learning French, because we live in Quebec, where it's a French francophone province, and there's English too. But if you want the good jobs, you have to be able to speak the official language of the province, French. So Vincent gave me like a very good tip and about how to improve my French. And then when I decided to take French courses, like to really improve it, Vincent and another friend, she doesn't do Kyokushin. Shout out to Corinne Laframboise. She's like a MMA practitioner in Quebec. Her and Vincent were some of the biggest backers with Mohammed, who said, "You're going to do good at this. You are going to learn French." And they said, "We are so happy, and credit to you for really wanting to do this." And it's because of them, you know, like the community as a whole. When I got my other job after, to like, that's better now, like they were the first ones to call and say, "You're going to do good at this." And they're like, because you have like the attitude, whether it's from martial arts, to like really you apply what you learn in martial arts to your daily life. And I think that's what really helps others succeed at their jobs. Like, I really think there's a connection between martial arts and the job you do, and like how you go about it.
100%. I totally agree to what you say.
So yeah, like, I mean, look, I'm sure, like, tell me, what was one of the biggest impacts you've seen in a student? They were down in their luck, you know, and we're talking like a complete 180. Like, you know, they come to your dojo, they're a project. I mean, I was a project too. I mean, you know, when I was training with Mo, like I had a lot of bad habits that I was, you know, it took him like, you know, credit to him. It takes a lot for a teacher to sit down a student to say, and by the way, you can cuss on the show if you want, but I mean, I want to keep it articulate too, because we have good vocabularies, I could tell. But I'll say it like, I'm just going to paraphrase what like Mo said. Like one day Mo had to sit me down and he's like, "You're fucking up your life." He's like, "You are fucking up everything." And he's like, "If you want me to work with you and help you get to where you are, we're going to have to make some changes. You're not going to like them. I don't care. I'm doing this for you, because think of what your late father would think if he saw what you were doing. You're using stuff as an excuse." And and then it helped me turn a 180, like where I am now. I mean, you know, I wouldn't be here if it was for him. So, I mean, I'm sure you've seen students that have like you've worked with, but then they've helped you change too, maybe in certain ways that you didn't realize.
Yeah, I think there's a few things I won't say names, just out of
Yeah, of course. Let's keep it
you understand
anonymous.
that. Yeah, a little bit anonymous. But yeah, there's a few people within my own dojo, but also in the dojo I was with before. Is that you know, they came in, they were really depressive. They were like extremely depressive, having suicidal thoughts, having, you know, cutting into themselves, and doing crazy stuff. And then there was only one thing good for them, and that was karate, Kyokushin, fighting, and to you know, go with them, sit them down, talk with them, and at the end of the, like after a few months, maybe some are a bit quicker, some are a bit longer, but seeing them turn around into happy people, and being not only happy when they do karate, but being happy in all sorts of stuff, being creative in all sorts of stuff, and pick up their life in the way they should be, because that's what they deserve. That's something really, really thankful. One of my friends, he's become a friend of me now, and he's not even from my club, but he always looked up to me as a fighter, as a person, and he was like, wow, I really like you, you're really good, and big role model for me. And then I went to a festival in Holland, and in Holland, I don't know how it's like in Canada, but in Holland, when people go to a festival, they're on drugs all the time. And
let me ask you, was it a trance festival like with Tiesto, Armin van Buuren?
No, it's hardcore. So
Okay.
like really hard music, loud, a lot of BPM, like
Okay.
that. Dark hardcore stuff.
Okay.
One of my favorites, to be fair.
I'm a big
But yeah,
trance junkie too. Don't worry. Don't worry.
that's really good.
Yeah.
Trance is really nice, and we got some really good DJs from Holland as well. But yeah, so I went there, and I was there with my wife and with some friends, and I never use any drugs and stuff like that. But then I saw my friend, and he was ashamed, and he was like, and I saw he had something, he used something, which is okay for me because it's like a party drug and stuff. But at that time, he was like, he really felt guilty to do this, and seeing me there, and he was like, well, this was the last time I ever did this, because I don't ever want to see my role model again in a festival, thinking I'm a drug addict, and that's something I'm quite proud of as well. And I really don't convict him for doing it, because there's loads of people, and if you do this, you can still be my friend. But it was something really cool to see and hear them say that they never do that again, because they don't want me to see them like that. So yeah, those are a few little things I've learned in the way, because it made me a better person as well. It's like, all right, so this is the thing I'm having with people. This is the way they look up to me. I better make sure it's in the right way, then the things I'm showing them, and the things I'm doing with them. So yeah, it really made me better as a person as well.
That's really good. Yeah, no, and it's really great to see like how IFK has really helped people during the pandemic with mental health. Because I mean, look, the virus is out there, but I'm not an anti-vaxxer, I'm not an anti-masker, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I really think the real pandemic is, what do you do when you take people's like hobbies away, like karate? Like, think of it, I think it's the mental illness. And I mean, I kind of went through it too. I mean, like with like, I'm overeating, I find, because also unfortunately, like my someone very close to me got diagnosed with a terminal illness. So it's just a matter of me like balancing, trying to take care of them and also stay disciplined. But then I catch myself, like overeating. But I'm also, what I also think is important too is, like, I see IFK, like Fogarazzi, who's going to come on tomorrow. Like, we were talking on Sunday, we had an hour and a half conversation, and just to see what he's doing, check in with like those closest to him. We need that. And I see you guys are doing that too, like whether it's like yourself or Darren Stringer, like Sensei Darren, who's also doing what he can. You guys are being like psychologists without having a degree. And I think, and same with Sensei Russo too, like who I had on like earlier from, who's one of like my biggest backers of what I do. And like Russo's like a father. And also, that's what I think we need right now. And, I really see it. And I mean, how do you think this has helped you as a leader, where you have to check in with your students, not from a karate standpoint, but from a humane standpoint, bringing the values of Kyokushin?
Well, that's how I always kind of try to look at the thing we do. I try to be a good person. I try to be a good role model. I don't think the being a sensei makes me a better person. I think being a good person makes me a better sensei, and that's how I try to look at it. So when I do think, and to be fair, I'm quite busy. I have a lot to do and stuff like that. But when I think about, hey, I think this person needs just a text message, or hey, this person needs a little bit of attention, that's all I can do. So that's what I try to give to them. And that's what Darren and myself did with the whole starting up the KRT. We would like to show the people and give the people our vision of karate, and also at least something they can do during this pandemic, because it is something really, really powerful if you can still be in social contact with your friends, or with a lot of people from abroad who love the same thing you do. And then it's okay to be home alone, if you
It
can
is.
at least do a little bit of training.
It is like these podcasts too are kind of like therapeutic for me. Like I get to connect with people. I get to really improve, keep my social skills improving, because I was very in my shell before. Like I was very in my shell, and it was like, and I've also battled like my demons too. So I mean, if any of your students hear this, and like if it gives them motivation, I mean, you've worked with people from many walks of life. I mean, I'm comfortable with talking about it now, but like when I was much younger, I was diagnosed with mild autism spectrum disorder, and it led to me being chastised and bullied. It's the classic case of like, why did you get into martial arts? And I know what it's like to be picked on. I kind of got into hockey to fit in, ice hockey, but then like when I always saw fighting, it was kind of like, I always wanted that glory, just to feel important, just to feel included. Winning that, like when Karate Kid, when he beats Johnny Lawrence and he gets that trophy, I wanted that. Like that's what got me into martial arts. And even as like a 28-year-old, like when I get that trophy, whether it's first, second, or third, it's like, okay, that's my moment, because I did what so many few would do, because everybody is romanticized by wanting to fight. They want to have like, they want to have that, like, that like the girl give them attention, everyone be like, hey, great job. But when they see what you have to put into to prepare for a kumite without getting paid for it, everyone's gonna shy. Like, I mean, I was waking up at 4:30 a.m., dropping millions of F-bombs. Like sometimes I'd even look at my shoes for 5 minutes and be like, why am I doing this? It's like, why am I doing this? What is the point of this? And then I realized like I have a goal here to get down to like my weight that I want, and also compete. And when I started, when I
And
won my
most
last,
of the times it's only the stupid little trophy,
yeah,
or just a plastic or metal cup.
yeah,
That's it, but it represents so much. It
yeah.
represents all of the dedication you put in there. It's amazing.
If anyone, yeah, who has like some form of like learning difficulty, or I wouldn't say challenge, because if you were challenged, you wouldn't be able to succeed. It's a learning difference. And, I don't want to sound like I'm PC here, but I mean, listen, if you have any students, Wesley, that like hear this and listen to this, and they have some sort of, let's say, dyslexia, ADD, ADHD, guys, I'm on the spectrum. Okay. I'm mild, like, and I was told I would never do this. I would never do that. And I was able to accomplish it because also it pays off who's in your circle too. Like I, when I won like that trophy versus Vince Michaud's guy, second place, it was to tell people like, you can change your circumstances regardless. You have to flip the script. You can do it. You can't be a victim forever. You can't. And if you keep doing it, you're going to get the same result. But if you decide to one day wake up and say, okay, I've had enough, and you channel that and put it into martial arts like Kyokushin, jujitsu, kickboxing, boxing, you're going to see how it changes. And that's how it's changed for me. Since I really got serious with Kyokushin, I started the podcast, I've really seen how it's benefited. So if any students of Wesley or anyone that listens to this who feels like they're in like a tough period, use me as an example. I don't care. Because, if I can make a difference in one person's life with what's going on right now, I can die happy. That's what I want. I don't care about fame. I don't care if I spoke to like this guy. I want to make sure, I truly believe in the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I prefer the go together part, because that's what I realize is more rewarding.
I like that. That's really good. You're kind of this is like the real life version of Hulk from Cobra Kai.
Hawk, yeah.
Yeah,
He's such an example
really
for me. You know what? Watch the show,
amazing.
guys. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but you know what? I really think if they did, you know what? That for a second there. Let's go off topic here. That show for a reboot. I've seen many reboots, Wesley. Okay, I've seen
This is
reboots.
amazing. I love it.
I've
Yeah.
seen a reboot of Red Dawn. So if you like Cold War history, the original Red Dawn with Patrick Swayze, Charlie Sheen, C. Thomas Howell, that was amazing. The other one that came out in 2012, where North Korea is the villain, garbage. Watch the original 84 one, because they really make you think. Because I have my degree in history and the Cold War. The original Red Dawn really made you think of the period, because that's when Ronald Reagan almost launched the nukes to Russia with that whole incident. It really made you think, what if Russia did invade? And it's so good. And it just makes it so good. And, it's so rare that they reboot it. And bringing it back to Cobra Kai, they tried to do the remake with Will Smith. Then they did the one with Hilary Swank. It was
Rubbish.
It was so bad. This one, they did it good. And I mean, who's your favorite character or characters in the series?
I'm a really big fan of Hawk, to be
Me
fair,
too.
because he was the bullied one, and he's a bit cray cray at the moment. But to be fair, I understand. So I'm a big fan of him. I always was a big fan of Johnny. Um,
He's an
uh,
anti-hero.
yeah, he's the anti-hero. It's exactly what you say. If you look at Dragon Ball Z, I was never a Goku fan. I was always a Vegeta
Me
fan.
too.
If you look at like all of the big things, I never root for the hero. Like Harry Potter, stuff like that. I'm such a nerd, to be fair, but
Me too.
that's okay. But I never root for the hero. I like to see the hero win, but I'm always kind of an anti-hero fan.
Did you
And
watch the Marvel series on Netflix, like Marvel and the Punisher? Like, for example,
no, I haven't been able to watch
Mhm.
the series. I literally watched all the Marvel films and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but yeah,
So
haven't got
Punisher's
time to
another
watch it.
one. Like Punisher's another one. He's not a hero. Like, cause you know I think what draws a majority in the end to the anti-hero is how real they are. Cause they're a very complex character. You look at Johnny Lawrence, like, yeah, we saw him from the scope of being the bad guy at number one. But I think what Cobra Kai does, it really frames it like he's not perfect. Like you look at, like, when you watch the show, I'm so happy that they gave a perspective of his life, like what happened, like between, and it gets you to
Yeah,
understand. And I really think, everyone loves Ralph Macchio, but I mean, I think William Zabka has won more fans. Like he's gonna win
yeah,
more fans
definitely. And
all
to
the
be
time.
fair, I'm the last season, so season number 3, kind of got me a little bit into Daniel LaRusso a bit more.
Me too.
But yeah, in the movies, I really disliked him. But that's, if you think about that, he was the hero, and he did a great job. He was the true Karate Kid.
I
So
want to ask you this because a lot of people. This is going to cause a lot of division, and when this video gets loaded onto YouTube, it's going to get like, and they get to this part. Okay, so there's a theory that everyone asks, where does the karate come from? Because we all know it's not real karate, but some say that Miyagi-Do is a kind of like an offshoot of Goju Ryu with maybe Kyokushin, but then some say, well, no, it's the Cobra Kai karate. But I have a theory that some say that it's Kyokushin Cobra Kai, strike hard, strike now. But I have a feeling it's more Taekwondoist. What's your opinion of when you watch the fight scenes? What are the styles you're seeing between the two?
well, it's a very typical way of all American karate. To be fair, when you look at like the tournaments and stuff, so it really has a lot of Tang Sudo and stuff in there. With if you look at the rule sets they work with, and if you look at Tang Sudo, that's like Korean, and uh, Oyama was Korean as well. So in a way, Kyokushin must be involved in this as well. And I think it was season 1 where Johnny was opening the laptop and looking at some fights, and
He
there was a
opens up a
little
Kyokushin
bit.
fight.
He opens up a Kyokushin fight. So yeah, I think the whole Cobra Kai version of karate is the more evolved a Kyokushin or Ashihara, or like the more newer styles of karate. And if you look at the Miyagi-Do, it's the more Goju Ryu and all of the JKA styles, so the more historical styles, where it actually began with. So I do like to think that Kyokushin was involved in doing this. Gives me a bit of a proud.
I
Just
think so
don't
too.
don't watch the fights too much, because you know it's acting, but it's definitely not the best way of fighting you see there.
Exactly. No, like it's really and you know what? I'm not gonna lie. The Karate Kid film part 2, because I don't want to ruin the show, but the movies everyone can watch, because it's old and not many people have time. But Karate Kid 2 took place in Okinawa, but it was really filmed in Hawaii because of the costs to go into. Always to go into Japan, it's like super expensive,
Mhm.
but it makes you want to visit Okinawa. Have you ever been to Okinawa yourself, or?
No, I've not been into Okinawa. I've been to Japan twice now, but I haven't had the chance to go to Okinawa, which is a big dream for me. So I still like to go there. But being in Japan is amazing. It's like it's where it all started, where it comes from, and the difference in between like the big cities or the smaller villages. It's such a big difference, and I love it. I love to go there. I love to be there.
I love to see it too, just because also like because of the military history, because the U.S. has been stationed there since World War II.
Yeah.
It's like one of their big, especially for Vietnam, and just to see when you look at Okinawa, like from what it brings, it's like you just want to wake up in the morning there, go to Tomei Village if it even if it even exists, and just see like the cat, like see like what it's like to live there. And but I've heard nothing but beautiful things. But the karate there is not like what we have here or in Europe. It's a lifestyle, like it's a real lifestyle, like yoga or meditation, or like if you're like a addict of some sort, like it's used to help like get out of the addictive patterns of addiction.
Yeah, I actually, I think this is what I've heard. I'm not sure if this is the truth or not, but I've heard this is something they actually teach at schools, and this is a big form of their PE and their certification in schools and stuff like that. So if this is the truth, that's something I'd like to see over here in Europe.
I really think we should bring martial arts into school. I think it would really change like a lot about PE, because it would help, because not many people are team sports players. Like I was not a team sport guy. Yes, I played hockey. I was terrible. I was like a bench warmer at times. I was like what we call like in hockey terms a plug, like just a guy that's there to help, like get the guys going. I was an enforcer too. But like martial arts, it's great for the individualist person, because like sometimes people do better with individualistic sports, like swimming.
But it still makes you a better team player as well. If you do martial arts and karate in the right way, it is an individual thing, but it also gets you to really understand what happens in a team and what happens in how much you need your sparring partner and stuff like that. So it does help you in stuff like that. I've never been a big team player myself, but I was always good to function within a team if it was necessary.
Same
And
here.
karate.
That's what teaches me about karate too, especially because now like I work in like in the corporate world, like I work in telecom, so we're in a team. So it's like, okay, like we have our team, but you could be the best sales rep, but if you're not encouraging others, if you're not like helping others when they need help, then your team's not going to succeed. And I think what makes the team we have luckily right now so good is because everyone helps each other in a certain way. Like for example, when I had a challenge speaking with the French customers, because French to go from English to French is like very tough in sales. Like you have to switch languages. Like I had one colleague that would say, you know what, let me help you with this one. If it's too much for you, give them to me and you handle the English ones. But now it's like, because of the help and what and thank goodness my manager was helping me. My manager was taking me on the side to say, here's how we're going to say this. Here's how you're going to change this up. It doesn't have to be perfect, but keep it like simple, in like simple English, simple French. And that's what makes the sum of a good team. You want a good leader that wants, okay, I'm taking this quote from Michael Francis, a former mobster. And he says, if you're a mob leader, it holds true today. If you're a mob leader, if you're a leader in general, if you want to succeed as a leader, you want your people to earn. You want them to earn and succeed. So how do you do that? You put them in positions and you coach them to be there for them and to make sure that they succeed. And that goes to the same with martial arts. If you're in a team for a tournament, you want to make sure your best fighter is not getting all the attention. You want to make sure the other fighters are getting their due as well.
True. Very true.
So that's what I think makes a great team, especially in martial arts, like with the kumites, because man, that camaraderie, those memories are for a lifetime. Like you could like you look at the scene in when you look at the scene in okay, I don't want to say, you look at like, well, just in general, like, when sometimes like you meet, like, let's say you and Darren, like, or let's say you and Darren, like, or let's say one of your other karate mates from like the Netherlands, you guys meet up like 25 years later. Hey, remember that kumite where like you had this fight and, you were so nervous, and like, it's timeless, man. It's timeless. Like, sometimes I still talk to Vincent and I'm like, remember the time I fought your guy last year and how he chopped my leg up and how like I couldn't walk for a week, and he was like laughing, and it was like, it
brings you in the moment straight away. And that's what happens as well, because it's so true, such a pure form of what you do when you fight each other. You both know, you and your opponent, you both know what you guys are there for, what you guys are doing there. And it's something, it's a connection made there. Although you try to kick the crap out of each other, it's a connection.
Oh, it's the connections there. Like as mentioned, like I really learned a lot from that tournament. Like, because I was like, I don't want to sound like I don't want to sound like Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite, like back in '82. But I was like, the truth is, I was winning that fight. Like I really was. But like the problem was, I didn't know how to check the legs. That's where my weakness was. But I learned because I had to get my leg chopped up by Vincent Sky, and after that, like it was definitely the fight of the day. Like I had like a like my like I'd say like if I'm a fighter, if we're comparing myself to MMA fighters, my style is a mix of between Robbie Lawler's and Nick Diaz because I'm just gonna keep coming. I'm just gonna you can hit
Going
me.
for a war then.
We're going for a war. Oh, we're going
Yeah.
for a war. Like it's gonna be it's like that. I'm like, and Robbie. That's what I like about Robbie. Like I have this personality. Like I'm very aloof. I'm very nice. I try to be like casual. But when that switch goes off, it's like it's game time.
Lovely. That's good.
Is he who are your favorite fighters to follow? Because we're having this discussion before the whole lockdown, and you even sent me a photo of one of my favorite 185ers. He's the pride of Leiden, Holland.
Bas Rutte.
Bas Rutten, that's your favorite,
No,
right?
no. I thought you were talking about them.
No,
Oh,
another
no, no.
one.
No, my all-time favorite fighter is John Bones Jones. He's I don't know. He's something special. I honestly think he's the best MMA fighter that's ever touched earth. I really like him. I'm a big fan of I'm a big fan of McGregor. I'm a big fan of George St. Pierre. I really don't really like his style of fighting, but I like his intensity and the way he went at it is Khabib Nurmagomedov, amazing. If you look at one of the more newer guys, is Zabit, who's
That
amazing. So
future
yeah,
champ. He's a future champ. I don't care what
or
anyone says. That guy's a future champ.
yeah, and he's gonna do it in style. To be fair, he's gonna do it in style. So yeah. But my all-time favorite is Jones. I there's no doubt about that.
You want something funny? So I was very into hockey before. So and when I got into MMA very casually, I was into first Andrei Arlovsky because my mom's from like
Hmm.
that part of Russia. Well,
Hmm.
she's born in Canada, but her parents are from like Belarus, Russia. But
Yeah.
then eventually when John Jones came on, everyone's like, he's the youngest champ ever. And I started kind of very following loosely, like when he won the belt against Shogun. Then the fight against Machida, I remember I was like kind of very loosely. That was my favorite John Jones. And then when you hear him break it down, you said he's the best fighter on earth. Just hearing him, like his IQ. Yeah, they're like, John's like, yeah, John. He's like, you're going to fight a guy like Machida. You're going to fight a guy like Machida. And then John was like, well, I knew Machida wasn't really good of a wrestler, but if I got him into that corner, I can neutralize his point style karate. And then you just hear him. And then when he just like gets that elbow in when like cuts the eye. And then when the coldest walk off ever, he just chokes Lyoto out and you just see him walk off like nothing.
The way he drops the body is oh my god, it's nearly scary that someone can do that to you. Is the IQ he has in fighting, and when I said to you there's no secrets anymore, that I think there's only one person in the whole earth doing martial arts who has secrets, and that might be John Jones, because the way he uses literally every little bone of his body into fighting is it's off the chain.
I think my favorite fights of him were the Machida fight. I could say the Shogun fight when he won the belt, because no one was expecting to do that to Shogun. We just came in with a flying knee. No one ever did that to Shogun. No, like Shogun, who was like a pride legend, and John came in there, made him look below average. And there's that. But I think the most important fight of Jones's career, and not many people agree with me or like they don't know it, was the Vitor Belfort fight, UFC 152, because Vitor almost beat him. He had
Yeah.
John in that arm lock and he separated John's shoulder. And when you want to know what a champion is, what it takes to be a champion, watch that video. Go on Instagram, go on YouTube, watch Vitor pulling Jones's shoulder apart and John's just biting on the teeth, digging through. And he somehow beat Vitor after.
Yeah. That's why I said he's got it all. He truly has got everything you need to have as a fighter. And yeah, outside of the ring, outside of the octagon, he's not been the biggest role model. But I do think you should see this separately.
Yeah.
And the PEDs they caught him with, or didn't really caught him with, or whatever. There is a suspicion. I still believe he is something out of this world.
I'm so excited for him to come into heavyweight. It's like it gives me chills to be like, what is he gonna do to Francis and Stipe? Because even people,
It's gonna make them look stupid.
I think so. I think
That's
so.
what I think. He's
I
gonna
think
make them
so.
look stupid. Yeah.
And then you have Israel Adesanya barking up, and I keep telling all the Izzy fans, like I say, guys, listen, you could say keep living in La La Land, because when Izzy gets into that cage with John, it's a different beast, and you do not want to wake up a John Jones. Like, you do not want to poke the lion, because John is a lion and Izzy is. He's, to be fair, Izzy's kind of like, he's kind of like a cub right now. It's like a lion versus a tiger. Izzy's the tiger, but John's the lion. And there's a reason why the lion is, that they say, the king of the jungle. And, John's going to rip him apart. And that's going to really...
I believe he will snap him like a twig. And it's I don't even think they're a comparison. I think people who say, yeah, Izzy is going to be, he's better than John, then as it's wrong for his name to be in the same sentence as Izzy, to be fair.
It really is. I said, you're playing a dangerous game. I said, you're playing a very dangerous game. It's like, as I said, when I have, like, there were some that were wanting to fight my coach Mo, and I always say, like, Mo is the John Jones of Canada Kyokushin, because there's people that are like kind of there with him, but he's always up here. And it's not to sound biased. There's things I've seen. I can't say, I don't want to say it on record, but I've seen things Mo do that makes him what he is. And, Mo, if you've seen my coach fight in videos, I compare style. He's got the IQ of a John Jones for Kyokushin, but he also has another style of a fighter that we're familiar with, that you and I like. Gegard, the Dreamcatcher Musashi.
Oh yeah, that's the one you mean. Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. Yeah, I was actually thinking about UFC guys. At that time he was UFC, but yeah, Gegard, he's something special as well. To be fair, he's such a smart fighter, such a brilliant fighter, and he's so strong, but also such a true gentleman. That's amazing.
So calm, very quiet. Like, it's too bad he didn't work out in the UFC, because I just think, he doesn't want to be like a McGregor. He doesn't want the spotlight. He just does this talking. The record speaks for itself. And
comes to fight. He comes to fight. He doesn't want to talk too much. And he's very cool. Very good guy.
I'm pretty sure Michael Bisping is very happy he fought George St. Pierre over Gegard Mousasi, and same with Luke Rockhold, because I'm not going to lie, it's not an easy fight. It's not a style you can really prepare for with Gegard. He doesn't show his training like other fighters do. He's very under the radar. There's even...
Have you seen his last fight into Bellator? Like when he was fighting the Brazilian one?
Douglas Lima.
Yeah, and I know Douglas, he comes to Holland quite a lot to train in Kop's gym, especially for his title fights when he wasn't fighting Gegard. He trains there, and he in my opinion, he got schooled in this fight. Gegard showed him what it's like to be the champion, and I like Douglas because he's a good fighter, very, very good stand-up fighter. And but
some of those leg kicks are very Kyokushin like. Those leg kicks, it's Muay Thai, but it's a key. I think he's done Kyokushin. I think a lot of MMA fighters kind of do Kyokushin on the side, or they'll get coaches that just
at
teach
least
them
there's at least a stand-up coach who can teach them a little bit of the ground principles for Kyokushin. The way they twist in the hip, the way they snap some kicks.
Would you say Gegard has a bit of a Kyokushin style, or is it more Dutch kickboxing?
Well, Dutch kickboxing is a little bit of a Kyokushin style as well, because a lot of like the old school Dutch kickboxers, they've always trained Kyokushin for quite a while. So yeah, I'd say there is some Kyokushin in there, and either he learned it in the old school Dutch kickboxing way. If you look at the way of his stand-up fighting, the way he gets into an opponent, the way he really smothers them, that's a smart IQ of a fighter.
A lot of people, and I really think too, he's one of the few that can actually give Israel very big problems. And everyone says like, "Oh, Izzy's gonna No, there's two people that are gonna give him. There's actually four people that are going to give him problems. And these are the four. John Jones, we agree, is going to tear his arm off. Gegard Mousasi for smothering and, bringing that dirty fighting. I even think I had him on my show yesterday, Jack Hermanson, the Joker. He's another one for his grappling. Very good grappling. And that's something we haven't really seen Izzy do. Like Izzy hasn't been tested on the ground. And I'd say Kelvin Gastelum, you know, say what you want about Kelvin Gastelum, but he was the one that brought Izzy to the brink.
Yeah. And if you look at like big fighters like Khabib,
Yeah.
if he was willing to do this, he would have given him a very, very big run for his money. I'm not sure if Izzy would have beat him, because you know he's extremely strong, and maybe if you look at a guy like Robbie Lawler, you earlier said in his good days, he probably would have given him such a hard time. Izzy is a smart fighter, don't get me wrong. He's you know, he's got some really good stuff on him, and even the one knockout he had in kickboxing was he was dominating that fight. But that's the thing, he when he dominates, he gets a little bit cocky and a little bit arrogant, and then he's
gonna get caught. It's gonna get caught one day. It just takes one. Like look at Anderson versus Chris Weidman. You know, everyone thought Anderson was untouchable, and then Weidman came in there and just starched
and we can
him.
all agree that Anderson was a way better fighter than Weidman is. And that's the thing. You don't have to be the better fighter to win tournaments or to be a world champion. You don't have to be the best.
No, it's just about timing. And I mean, then it's kind of debated like about Weidman's, like, I'm never going to take anything away from a champion who won it, but it can be said that Weidman did kind of fight guys on their way out. Like Anderson was kind of, you know, father time caught up with him. Lyoto Machida was on one last run before, you know, it was kind of like, okay, I'm just going to go to Bellator to earn a few quick paychecks. And then, he fought Vitor, but then there was the whole controversy, if you remember, because that fight was supposed to happen like, we got it too late. That's the other thing with MMA that is kind of sad. We get the fights sometimes when they're too little, too late. Like I wish we got the Vitor fight. If there wasn't the whole TRT controversy, I think that would have been a very good fight for Weidman. I think that would have really shown, okay, is he a legitimate champion? Because when he fought Vitor, there was all the rules, and, you know, say what you want about Vitor, but I mean, I think, you know, but I do think Vitor clipped him, because when you watch Weidman versus Rockhold, I think over time, that's one of the better middleweight fights in history. I really think the effects of Vitor's quick boxing did something to Weidman, because Weidman tried to throw that spinning back kick, but just that culminated with the Vitor fight. I think that led to Rockhold capitalizing, if you agree or disagree.
I agree. And if you look at the fight of again Weidman versus Rockhold, that was something. I'm not sure if we can say Rockhold was the better fighter, but he was just the better, doing the better and the cleaner techniques at that time, and had the right strategy in that time. So yeah, you know, that's what it's, and definitely in MMA, that's what it's all about. Being the champ, or going to be the champ, you have to be using the right strategy. And that's what I love about the sports, about martial arts. It's not only physical, it's very mentally. You have to be smart. You have to be, you know, playing chess with your opponents, and that's what happens a lot, and that's why I like to watch it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And it was it's very interesting to see like how that fight would have happened if Weidman did win, because then it would have proven, okay, Weidman is legit. But Rockhold, you know what though? You know what I love about that fight? I'm not a fan of Rockhold, okay? I'm not a fan of Rockhold, but that entrance to DMX, that was the best, one of the best entrances I've ever seen. He just showed up, he was ready. It was just so good. Like, cause you could tell, like, for a co-main event, there was a lot of intensity on the line. It was East Coast versus West Coast. And you got like, it was AKA versus New York Ray Longo. And here's the funny thing, after Rockhold won the belt, there was kind of this weird phase when John came back from that like whole like incident with the hit and run. It was him and Weidman were teaming up against like AKA guys at one of the conferences, because there's DC who was the champ, Rockhold was the champ, and you know, there was kind of that like I kind of missed that rivalry. That was a nice rivalry we had there.
It was really good indeed. Yeah, that made it a little bit interesting.
Other than Connor,
a little bit extra. Yeah.
Other than the Connor, like Connor was like on it. I guess like, I'm telling you, the golden stage of MMA was, I would say, when Tough finally broke the sport through with like Bonner versus Griffin. Then it was from 2005 with Chuck Liddell carrying the torch until then Brock Lesnar came. And then the golden stage was like Brock Lesnar, Anderson, George, BJ Penn, Strike Force 2. And then when they got bought out, there's kind of like a mellowing out period. And then when George left the first time, there's kind of like, okay, they lost a big piece. How is the show going to succeed? And then when John came up, and then when Ronda and Connor, I just think 2015 to 2017 was like the most amazing. And I think we're kind of back to that era now.
I think that really, really did something good for the whole MMA thing and whole like martial arts in particular for a lot of people, because a lot of mainstream people were talking about the fights of Conor McGregor, and you know that's something really good, because at that time it's kind of normal to or cool to do a martial arts, and that's what they did for us. So I think it's something everyone in martial arts can be thankful of, that a guy like Conor McGregor and a few other names really bigged it up. They made it really, really, really big and really interesting for people to watch.
They really did. It was just a period. And then I think, and when I had one of my other friends on, my friend Adam from the show Unanimous Decision, we spoke about 2019 was the year of the anti-hero. Because you think of it, John became champion again. Nate Diaz came back. Jorge Masvidal was like on the rise. And that's what I call the anti-hero era, because there's none of this like, oh, I'm a good champion. It's like, no, these are imperfect individuals like Diaz, Masvidal, John Jones, Stipe and DC. Well, Stipe is a stand-up guy, but that was like, he's not my favorite champion. I respect him, but I just feel John is the one that's gonna put his mark on the heavyweight.
I think so. I was actually thinking Cormier was going to do it, DC, because when he went out of the light heavyweights into the heavyweights and then actually beat it Stipe, I was like, wow, I didn't expect that to happen. So at that time I was like, okay, so this is what's going to happen. He's now gonna control this whole heavyweight stuff, and then when John Jones comes back, he will come back into the heavyweight and see the rivalry again. But then DC stopped at the right time and got beat by Stipe the next fight. But I like Stipe. But yeah, this is not the best time of being a heavyweight, no. Except for when now John Jones returns, because that's going to make it very interesting at the time.
I think he's going to be more active as a heavyweight too. I think he's realized of all the screw ups he had outside the ring, all the money he lost from endorsements and all that. He wants to kind of like get what he can back, and he's still doing well for himself. He's not crying poor, but I look at John Jones as like his window being from now 33. He's 33. I think he's going to retire at like say 35, 36 as the heavyweight GOAT. And you know what? Like if he wins at heavyweight, that erases everything about him. You cannot say shit. You cannot say anything about him after that. And, it's just, he's just so good. Everyone gives me a hard time for being a Bones fan because they're DC fans. I don't hate DC, but I don't like his style. I just think
he's too much of a good guy as well.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a suck up. I like him because he's funny and he's obviously an amazing fighter. And what you say, I'm not a big fan of his style, but it worked for him. But he's just, that's the same in Holland. I'm not a big fan of Rico Verhoeven. That's just
me neither. I like Badr Hari.
Yeah, I like the little bit of the raw edge on people, and I don't like it that people they look too fake to me. You know what I mean? I don't like that. Just be honest, be you, and if you're a dickhead, be a dickhead.
Yeah, like for example. You know what won me over to Badr Hari? And I don't condone violence. The video of Joe Rogan breaking down, like when Badr's in a nightclub, he just goes up to a good doorman. He's like, yeah, I'm Badr Hari, just smacks him right out. Like, it was
I haven't seen that.
Oh, you didn't hear it? Oh, this was hilarious.
No,
so like apparently he was in a nightclub and the guy was like, hey, who the fuck are you? He's like, hey, who the are you? And Badr is like, you don't know who I am? And then they got into an altercation. The guy doesn't know that this is like a K1 legend, like a glory champ. So Badr just got mad one day. Badr being Badr just smacked the guy out, and it was and then he got caught for it, obviously, because I think Badr's like the Mike Tyson of kickboxing, very complex individual.
Yeah, I think you could say that. If there was like a big story of him being on a big trance festival. It's like it's called the white team party or something.
White party, white night,
Yeah,
or something like that,
yeah,
right?
something like that. Yeah, everybody dressed in white.
Yes.
Gesso being the main DJ and stuff like that. But then they were like, yeah, well, he actually gave someone a low kick and he broke his leg. But then what happened was, and that's that's what the media won't tell you. These guys there, they were kind of taking the piss out of him and trying to altercate into with him and looking up the boundaries on how far he was making them go. And then obviously they went over the boundary and got kicked, and then he beated them up. And then it's not good. He shouldn't do it because he's a weapon. He's a trained martial artist. He's amazing, but still, it's not okay that people do this. And when they get punished for that he is the bad guy. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. He is a bad guy.
But he's our favorite bad guy.
But he's a cool bad guy. I like him.
It's kind of like
I actually did a training with him as well, and the guy was phenomenal. He was so good, and everything. When you start a session and they do left right, left jab, right cross, you do that. But then he started talking and the reason why he did this and the way he uses his body. He was so efficient. He was so good. That was a training I learned a lot that time.
I really think he's like, a lot of these guys are like very misconstrued in the media, as you were saying. And there's what you see in the media, and then when you get to see the person, and for example, like a lot of people do not like John Jones, but Ali Abdelaziz, Khabib's agent, said it best. He's like, I'm very good friends with John Jones, and John Jones is a very misunderstood person. And I really believe it's that same Tyson-esque path, like those guys who are so good, but they don't know anything else other than what they're good at. And, look at Tyson, like, Cus D'Amato, the famous story, like Cus told him, said, you don't exist, the task exists. And no one ever taught him to turn the switch off to say, hey, you're going to have a life after fighting. Hey, you got to learn how to manage your money better. Hey, you got to learn how to like pick good friends and good associates to be around. And that's what I think, these guys, they make that mistake. I'm sure Botter's done it. It's a classic case of, getting to the top and then letting the...
And then to think, if you look at Mike Tyson and you look at Badr Hari, I'm not sure about John Jones, but these guys, they literally had nothing. They didn't had a penny in their pocket. And then they start fighting and they get famous and they get loads of money, and then they win tournaments where you get 400,000 or 500,000 euros or dollars or whatever, and then you got a lot of money, and then you're still the little bad guy, the little crook, the little and then with all of that money and all of those things can go wrong, and everybody wants to be your friend at that time, and you don't know who's going to be good for you and who's going to be bad for you. And so all of those things that happens for them, and they don't have anyone who says, hey, you better do it like this, you better do it like that, you better do it like that. Because to be fair, if they had that role model or that father figure in their lives, they probably wouldn't have got where they are right now.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. No, it's very true. And you mean like, it's really fun because I love hearing those stories about like, those late coaches like Cus D'Amato. Like Cus is like, was it like a savant, like with fighting, like not just with boxing, but like with watching like conquerors, war movies. And he would show Tyson like, you got to think like this. He'd make Mike read books about Alexander the Great. And I don't know if you watched the episode or listened to it where Tyson was on Rogan. He talks about like, because Joe was like, I wish I would have met Cus D'Amato. And he's like, I don't know, man. He's like, Cus was he was a good man, but he was also he had a very petty side to him where he would make an enemy out of anyone. And there is that. And I think that's a problem in martial arts too. Like,
was that the one where he was actually crying and saying, I'm nothing. Is that episode?
No, that was his show with Sugar Ray Leonard, but he went on Joe Rogan's show actually, and he wasn't crying at all. He was just talking. This is when he announced his comeback. Like he said, I'm fighting Roy Jones Jr.
I did hear that. Yeah, I did hear that.
And he said like, it's so poignant. It just stuck with me because you could see it today in people. Like you want to meet your idols, but then you look at how flawed they are. Like look at Cus D'Amato. Like he made an enemy out of people that, just out of anybody. And that's not a way to live. Like you don't want to be like having a chip on your shoulder. Like, cause I was like that way before where in Kyokushin, like I had a chip on my shoulder. Like I wanted to I wanted to intentionally hurt others in tournament. Like I wanted to go beyond, there was senseis and there's some shihans that I really wanted to make enemies out of, but it's like you don't accomplish anything from it. It doesn't do anything. And that's what we can learn from that passage. It's like, don't be like vengeful or have a chip on your
Yeah.
shoulder always, because it can
Well,
bite you.
that's how I got grown up in karate. It was always like, no, we are the ones, we are the best. You always have to prove yourself. You always have to fight hard in the dojo. You always have to, beat other people up and stuff like that. That's how I actually got taught. I was like a 12-year-old boy, and I wanted to train with the adults. And then my sensei, he don't get me wrong, he was a good sensei, a shihan right now, and I've had so many great times with him. But if you look at the things we happened, it's crazy, because I was 12 years old and he was like, stand up, open up the ribs. He kicked me in the left side, broke a few. He kicked me in the right side, he bruised a few, and he was like, when you're crying, you won't ever train with the adults again. Well, there you go. I really wanted to, so I didn't cry. But if you think about it, I would never do this to one of my students. At this stage of like 2020, you can't do this, or 2021 at the time. So you can't really do this. But what is it? 18 years ago, this was maybe wasn't normal, but was okay-ish.
Well, yeah, like, because when I first started Kyokushin, like, I had a very bad senpai in this old school I was with, and he was very, he was not what an example of a senpai is, because, like, he had no patience for me with my katas, and he said, you're going to fail. And this is for like a ninth kyu. And it's like, how do you fail a ninth kyu? Like, they're going to give it to you, like, if you just make the effort. And he's like, but you got to do this and that. And then he was like saying very like inappropriate things to me. And it was like, and like, I just chewed him out. And then like, after that, like, eventually I saw him again at a Christmas party, and he came up to me and he's like, oh, he's like, you got a yellow belt because of all the teachings I taught you. And I just looked at him and I was like, no. I was just like, just shut your mouth. I said, I did not get that. Don't take credit. And then what he tries to do, which was really petty, he's like, well, I had a terminal illness. I had a blood cancer. And I said, it's not an excuse. I said, it's not an excuse. I said, you can't flip that on me to make me feel bad for you. I said, you were inappropriate to me and beginners. And the reason why and I said, you got your karma by what you have now. And I said, the truth is, when you mistreat others, it comes back to you, and you're not going to know how it comes back. So that's why I don't know why I said you never followed the dojo code. Be humble, even as a shodan. You always have to be humble, because you were a beginner too. And I just walked away, and it was the most gratifying thing I've ever done, sensei. Like, it was the most gratifying thing, because I could have got into a fight with him, and he wanted that, but I didn't. I just said what I had to say, and it felt so rewarding.
So that makes you a better person at that time, which makes you a better karateka.
It does. And so another thing I want to ask is, obviously, we after Cobra Kai and this, I've been watching a lot of martial arts flicks. You're a big Bruce Lee fan. For me, I don't know if I'll tell you, because people ask, how did you get into martial arts? So for me, it was first Karate Kid, then it was Dragon Ball Z with Future Trunks and Vegeta, then it was Blade and Blade 2 with Wesley Snipes. And Blade was the first R-rated movie I watched, because my parents were like, my mom was really strict, but my stepmom and my dad were more very liberal. So one day my stepbrother, I'm like 6, and he's like, hey, you want to watch Blade? I'm like, sure. So he rented at the store, and he was like, hey, it's kind of scary. And then I was like, ooh, I want to do martial arts. Then I watched Karate Kid, but I never really liked doing it, but I just had the thought of it. And then I played Tekken 4 with Jin Kazama, because Jin in Tekken 4 does karate. He does Kyokushin, actually.
Not only in Tekken 4, in all of the Tekkens, he's a Kyokushin styled guy. I think it was Tekken 3 where you had demos, and he was actually doing Yansu and fifth Pinengo.
Yeah, but it's more in Tekken 4. It's more pronounced. Because like he wants to unlearn the Mishima style karate that he has. Yeah. So he takes up Kyokushin because it's more pure. And I was like, I got to do Kyokushin now. And then Dolph Lundgren,
fighting gears and stuff like that.
Oh, I love that gear he has, man. Like that sweatsuit too. Like Jin too. Could we also say Jin is also kind of an anti-hero, or?
Well, I think I always thought he was kind of a good guy in that game.
Yeah, well, he kind of goes bad for a bit, but then he comes.
Yeah, but he always had a little bit of the Goku sense on him. He was Kazuya was the
Yeah, I
anti-hero.
love Kazuya, especially in
Yeah,
Tekken 4.
yeah.
Tekken 4 is my favorite Tekken of all time. I don't care what anyone says, debate me. I'm going to just say the storyline of Tekken 4 was the best at its time.
I really liked it. Yeah,
Oh, it was
I
my
stopped playing console games after that, probably. I think, but yeah, I really love to play a bit of Tekken.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and here's another martial arts flick that got me into Kyokushin. Definitely Spawn, because Michael Jai White. And Michael Jai White's a legit Kyokushin guy. Like he's legit. Like he's a heavyweight, 6'3", 230. He's kicked the bags. Like he's broken bags apparently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that. I've never seen him in real life, but I do believe he's a legit martial artist, a legit Kyokushin guy. If you look at like Tove Lundgren, he's legit as well. And I was fighting in 2010 in the World Cup in Estepona. I was there with Darren and all, and he was at that tournament to watch us. We were actually fighting in a bull ring, so it was open air, and he was there watching all day, and took the time to go on a picture with people and shake hands and be a very humble guy. But yeah, it was cool to meet him. Yeah, really cool.
It's my goal to meet him. Like, I mean, Sensei, not Sensei, sorry, Shian Tom Callahan of
Yeah,
Khan in the US
yeah, USA. Yeah.
knows him. I want to say pretty well, but they've had like dealings with like tournaments and all that. And he's like, Dolph is like the nicest guy you can imagine. Like he is the most humble guy ever. Like doesn't like when it comes to tournaments. Yeah, you just said takes the time, and that's some guy I want to meet too because he's an interesting cat too.
Yeah, try getting him on your show.
It's a process. I mean, I'm going to do it. You know, I mean, listen, I almost got Gegard. I was this close to getting Gegard because I spoke with Bert Kops, but just the timing never worked out. And Bert's a very buszy guy too, like managing a gym and working with kids
It's really
too.
cool.
Bert's the nicest guy ever. Like I told him I'm from Canada.
Really
Like,
cool.
kids, this is the story. Like I DM'd him and I'm like, Bert, I'm like, I want to get you on my show. I'm from Canada. Oh, you're from Canada? Yeah. Oh, we love Canadians in the Netherlands. I'm like, why do you guys love Canadians? Well, he's like, because during the war, it was Canada who liberated the Holland first. And they were the ones that took the time to really get to know the locals and kind of get to our way of life. What about the Americans? He's like, I don't talk about Americans. He's like, I don't know. Like, it's like they have a bad, I don't want to say a bad history, but I mean, Canada, like everyone, he says, he's like, if you come to Holland, you better wear a Canada t-shirt and you'll be treated much better.
Yeah. The thing with Bert is really, he's such a humble guy as well. And I was doing a grading for some kickboxing stuff. And he had a student, an old guy, he was like a 55 or something, a bodybuilder as well, and also quite good in the boxing and kickboxing and stuff. So it was about being a teacher and stuff like that. So I taught him, and then on the last Saturday, everybody took a few of their students, and then they showed us like a quick session of 20 minutes, so we can tell them if they were good or good enough or not. And then Bert came in with his student, and he's like introducing himself. Yeah, well, hello, my name is Bert Kops, and I'm the owner of Coffee Gym and stuff like that. I was like, you really don't have to introduce yourself. These people know who you are. You know what I mean? It's like you're a bit of a legend. You really don't have to introduce yourself, and that's how humble he is. He's like, you know, still being a nice guy, and still takes the time to you know, show himself and be a good human. I like that about him. He's a cool guy.
He's one of the good ones. So, I mean, I could talk to you all day, but I mean, you know, we got to do this again soon. Just to wrap it up, I mean, once again, I want to say really, you know, before I wrap it up, I want to ask you, what are 2 fights in MMA that you are super excited for this year?
McGregor versus Poirier.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope McGregor shows up again and does the trick. I'm looking forward to that, and I hope I'm not sure if it's gonna be on or not. I hope they do Magomed Sharipov versus what's his name, the Mexican guy. Always forget his name. Yair Rodriguez. Yes, I'm hoping they make this fight, and if they make this fight, I will definitely put my alarm clock on for that. Because,
Me too. Oh yeah, I do. I mean, Yair has lost support because the way Yair behaves is very immature. I find, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot USADA called me." And Magomed Sharapov's like, "Well, we've been trying to get this fight going for like 2 years now." So
yeah, but that's stylistically, I think that's got to be one of the best MMA fights ever, because those two guys, they're magicians. They are magicians.
yeah, Yair's a specialist in Taekwondo, but Zabit has that like weird sanda with like judo. Like it's a
Honestly,
weird.
I think Zabit, he must have done Kyokushin.
Yeah.
He must have been taught by Kurbanov or someone like that, because the way he throws some of them kicks, 100%.
The question mark kick is for sure a Kyokushin style kick. It's a Feitosa kick, but it's like the Chechen version, Dagestan version.
Yeah.
Definitely agree. So where can people catch you on social media if they want to connect with you, Sensei?
Well, on Facebook, on Instagram, you can find me on Wesley Jansen. You can find on Hokori Meiyo, Dojo Hokori Meiyo, which is my school. You can find me on KRT, Karate Tips and Tricks. And we're on with KRT. We are on TikTok as well, because we wanted to have a little bit of a wider view as well. So sometimes that's a little bit strange for me and Darren, but we like to do that.
Do what you got to
yeah.
do. You got to do to get exposed, and like you guys are doing great. And I mean, IFK, man, like I'm so happy that like I don't want to say impose, but I'll say this. I think IFK is kind of like the unofficial sponsor with Kyokushin Kan and like helping the show with the Kyokushin side of things. So I just want to give shout out to them, and IFK family, whether it's from you, Sensei Fogarazi from Kicks, like he's been super supportive. Scott from Marshall Way blog, Sensei Russo, Shian Tom Callahan, Bob from Forge Dojo in the US. Like Khan and IFK are like my two favorite organizations.
Friended as well. I think maybe you know or don't, but Hanshi Steven Yu and Kensho Rayama. Kensho Rayama really has a big heart for Hanshi Steven Yu, and he should be, because Hanshi, what an amazing person is that. It's probably one of my favorite persons in the world.
Perfect. Well, once again, we're going to do this again anytime you want. Super fun. And the episode will be up on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, wherever audio podcasts are. I'm going to load it up later today. I'll send you the episode info and before publishing and so forth.
Thanks a lot, my friend. Thanks for having me. It's been a big honor, and I hope this was good enough for you.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
Thank you.